Folks, welcome to So Bad It's Good. This is your pal Ryan, and this is your Friday episode. We did it! You are in the midst of a 3-day weekend, unless something has gone horribly wrong for you. But let's celebrate by doing a Summer House finale recap. Even though I think this was a subpar episode and kind of a ho-hum finale, there's plenty of things that we can still have fun with today. We're not going to be screaming into our pillows like Jesse Lally with a life coach. We're gonna go for gold today. Even a subpar Summer House episode can be a good So Bad It's Good episode. Anyways, how are you guys doing? Are you excited? Are you feeling the summer rush? It's a really beautiful day in Los Angeles right now. I'm looking at it through the window, and I went on a walk earlier, and it was beautiful outside. I'm very hungry right now. Health journey still chugging along. Yeah, that's all I got to say about that. I had a great meal of mushrooms and kale. I expressed my feelings about kale yesterday. I will not be taking any questions on that, but I did get a lot of feedback about my comments about, I hate to shit talk kale, but that's just how I feel. If kale shows up on Summer House next season, we're going to have problems. Listen, Summer House has come to an end. I enjoy this show. It is like pizza. Even cold pizza is good pizza to me. So this, I can't really slam Summer House as much as a lot of you are slamming Summer House, just because even when it's bad, to me, it's good. All shows do not have this distinction, but for some reason, we all have those little shows where it's like, no matter what they do, it's usually okay. Now, it doesn't mean I don't get upset at the storylines. I'm so mad at Jesse Solomon. I mean, I want to throw my TV out the window half the time. This guy, come on. This guy knows what he's doing. Do not let him, he knows exactly what he's doing. And the thing is, he's usually probably never lets women get close enough to him to actually kind of discover the arrays of bullshit that he propagates. And so Lexi, it might have been a couple weeks too late, but kind of really discovered it. Now, I'm not saying Lexi is the absolute hero in this situation. I think we always make that mistake of somebody's bad and somebody's good. You can dislike two people at one time. I like Lexi. I do think, her standing in her power in the final episode didn't necessarily hit. It was almost, she was like scrambling to try to correct all of the summer's mistakes in one episode and trying to buddy up with Gabby or trying to say, Ciara, that's why we're not friends. Like it was a little too late for that. Now, she seems like she's going on a podcast tour right now. She was on Not Skinny, Not Fat this week. And I think she did the Fiales, the Vial Files. Was that right? She did that a couple weeks ago. And Jesse did the Tinks podcast, which, I've now watched multiple clips. I can't bring myself to listen to the entire episode, but I do not like what I see. On both parties, I don't think Tink's pressed in the right ways for somebody that speaks for a lot of women or tries to speak for a lot of women. And Jesse's just like, oh, girl, I dated 9 months ago. I just don't think. It's like, yeah, I get what, it's always some sort of act where it makes him the pseudo victim. And at the same time, trying to elicit some sort of sympathy from him, and there's only light awareness of his own participation in what led to any of this scenario. But listen, I think we can all agree, if you like Jesse or dislike Jesse, that this man loves attention. And reality TV is a great place for people that love attention. And don't worry, Wes started off this season in a bad way. Wes has kind of escaped a lot of the criticism since then because, for all intents and purposes, he just didn't speak. He just did bro speak and was like, oh, what's up, Carl Beast? Oh, are you going to get stank on your hang low, Carl Beast? So, he escaped unscathed, and now Jesse is in the firing range. But Jesse put himself there. So be careful what you wish for. You got attention. But at the same time, I watch these shows and I find it befuddling when I still see women on his posts and just thirst comments. And it's just like, I see and I hear in my personal life, and I just see in general online, so many women having so many problems with men, but at the same time, they put themselves in the direct path of people that have already shown you who they are. This man has shown you who he is. Now, I'm not saying he's going to be that way for the rest of his life. I'm not saying 10 years from now, he's not going to have a completely different change of pace and a change of heart. But at this point, I believe it's notches on the belt. I was in bed last night, and this is how sad. Instead of counting sheep, I literally was trying to think of like, how long after this episode did Jesse Solomon have sex? Like, I was like, was it the next week? Was it the week after? Was it the next day? I have a feeling we'll never know the answer, but that is what my sick mind was thinking, was when did he immediately have sex after this? I think it is immediately. Like, but when did he have sex with somebody else after this? And I bet it was, I mean, he will never be honest with you about this answer, but I think, you know, maybe it's all guys and all different time periods, but it feels like this generation of men, it really is about quantity. It is about having sex with as many women as possible. And I think that's interesting because I think women have given these men, and especially a man on TV, even if it's Bravo, it already does 80% of the work for them because I do a whole show about it. There is a magic to television that, people are still trying to sleep with Jax Taylor, for the love of God. But there is some magic thing that if you are on television, that gives you some sort of magical power, and people throw themselves at people on TV. Thinking it, I don't know what it is. Maybe it's like, oh, this is an entree into a different life. This brings me closer to a lifestyle that I see on social media. So I'm sure this man is doing very, very good. And even when he gets to play the victim like he gets to play right now, I'm sure that is just a pivot in how he usually gets women. It's like, ooh, me being the victim, that's kind of a nice change of pace. I'll try that on. It's pretty good. People are trying to console me, and then, there is a vast amount of people that are speaking somewhat negatively about Jesse, but there's also going to be a vast minority that are like, I see beyond all that. I know that's not the real you. Cut to him kicking you out of his bed at 4 a.m. because he wants to get a good night's sleep. I don't know. I need the continuing adventures of Jesse Solomon. So I don't want any of this cast to go anywhere, but I do think we are at a crossroads with Summer House, obviously. Like I said, Kyle is going to chain himself to that Summer House. You are going to need like a wrecking crew to get this man away from the Summer House. This dude is going down with that ship. And I think that's fine. I'm fine. Like I said, I don't even care if Lindsay brings her baby. Yeah, that's a part of it. I'm in on these characters. Like I said, I think it's a fallacy for it's this magic summer house. It's why the Vanderpump Rules reboot probably, unless they just have lightning in a bottle again, probably won't work. Because you get attracted to the characters, you don't get attracted to the location. Unless it is the Sur Alleyway. I could just watch a live feed of the Sur Alleyway 24/7. I wonder if I could hide a camera, if I could hide like a Nest Cam in the Sur Alleyway, how long do you think I could have it there before I got caught? Like, they couldn't trace it back to me, could they? But wouldn't that just be great background, like TV? Just always have a closed circuit television of what's going on in the Sur Alley. I bet one cool, insane thing happens in the Sur Alleyway every day. If I get married again, I want to do the ceremony in the Sur Alley. Like that. That's like, some people have destination weddings. Mine is just literally the Sur Alley. So something to think about. But yeah, we are at a crossroads in terms of casting. But I think this show gave us many hints last night. I think you are somewhat ignorant, and I don't mean that in a negative way, even though it sounds highly negative, is that we are ignorant if we don't take the hints and the clues from last night's episode. I literally sound like a conspiracy theorist talking about the Twin Towers, but there were multiple scenes and multiple conversations, let alone picking back up cameras at the very end. And you had Lindsay, Hubbard, Amanda Batula, and Paige DeSorbo talking. And it seemed like, oh, this is the show. This is the show. They are showing us the show. And there was another scene with Amanda Batula talking to Paige, and I think Ciara saying like, listen, we're going to do a FaceTime call every week because I just love us. I love us. And then there was another conversation between Danielle, Lindsay, and Kyle where Kyle was like, oh, it's kind of like the end of something, right? And Danielle's like, yeah, Lindsay, you're kind of ignorant to think this isn't the end. And she's like, I don't know. And then on Watch What Happens Live, Lindsay was on with Kyle, which, by the way, how far have we come with Lindsay and Kyle? They're on Watch What Happens Live together. I mean, I remember seasons where these people were at each other's throats, and now they are laughing and giggling. Never give up on people, folks. Never give up. Never say never. But they were on there, and they were talking about that conversation, and Lindsay was like, I don't know, Andy, where do we go from here? And Andy was like, we'll talk about it after the show. Which, listen, I think this is in the bag. I think we have a spinoff. I think maybe that is some of the rumblings and rumors that I had heard about Lindsay joining Roni, which, by the way, big news. I also had another confirmation about somebody that actually interviewed for this upcoming season of Roni. So casting is taking place. Take it from good old Ryan Bailey. Please put my name in the Daily Mail. Put my name in Radar Online. I am telling you, they are currently casting for Real Housewives of New York. And I have somebody that I personally know that was in the consideration audition process. Now, I love, if you know, like, listen, if you want to make something good, take time with it. But it's just nice to hear that there is active talk and active searching for cast members for Roni. But yeah, I think spinoff is in the bag. And I think they're showing us, I think they're telling us, and I think this episode really set that up. And I think it is so smart of Bravo because you want to keep Paige in there. I have grown to really like Paige, but it is undeniable, aside from that she is a powerhouse. And you want to be in business with Paige DeSorbo. And I think Bravo wants to be in business with Paige DeSorbo. And Lindsay and Amanda, they have their own separate fan bases. I was doing Jeff Lewis today, and I was talking to Annie, who does all Jeff's videos beforehand, and she was talking about not liking Lindsay Hubbard very much. And I just thought it was so interesting because I love Lindsay, but it is such a sign of a good reality star when they are so polarizing, when you have people that absolutely love Lindsay and people that absolutely hate Lindsay. And I think that is the sign of a great reality star, is that they are polarizing. But also kind of exciting to watch, even when they make big swings like a Freedom Dinner. You're like, holy shit. Like, I would hate to be there in person. I would hate to have this directed at me, but my God, do I love to watch it. It is like the circus. So they all bring their separate fan bases, but if you're an advertiser, let's just talk turkey. If you're an advertiser, you want young women. And Paige DeSorbo, Amanda Batula especially, those bring in young women. Those are the people that we want to, or I'm assuming Bravo wants to advertise to. So it is a no-brainer. You are on top of that TikTok culture, which is becoming more and more prevalent. In some ways, Summer House is a show about influencers that are not necessarily influencing every day. Consider Summer House a 43-minute TikTok. And that's what they are speaking to. That's a generation that they are speaking to. Now, I am an older man. I still love TikTok. I don't really love influencers, even though I grow to appreciate them more and more. But that's what this is. And it's different. Like, they're not in full glam. My God. I was just watching the premiere of the new season of Real Housewives of Miami. I told you that earlier this week. I thought it was fantastic. But it is also so glaring, just that, like, the amount of work they put into their outfits and their makeup and their hair. It is like full glam, where you're like, how do you keep this up when the cameras are down? And please tell me you don't do this when the cameras are down. But Summer House doesn't do that. Now, the Valley to me is like if Old Navy had a TV show, whereas Summer House is like if Gap or Banana Republic had a TV show, but it's like they're not in full glam. I like that Paige has like pimple patches on her face, and I don't love that she's glued to her phone, but it is so relatable to so many of us. Sometimes I feel like it's Inception, because I'll be on bed on my phone watching Paige in bed on her phone, and I'll be like, holy shit, is this like Freaky Friday? That's a great idea for a movie, is that I just switch bodies with Paige DeSorbo for one day. Oh, the life I would lead. Anyways, those are some opening thoughts on Summer House. And yes, we will get to the picking back up of cameras scene They left a lot out. They left stuff out that they showed in the mid-season trailer about Craig texting with two bitches. I didn't. That's those are Paige's words, not mine. Two bitches. They cut that out. They didn't leave that in, and I have I think I have a theory on why they left that out, but I do hate, but it also shows you that this show is in flux. Even when the season is airing, remember, they are still editing the rest of the season. So a lot of scenes are still in play. We also had a scene in the mid-season trailer where the guys were hooked up to like those period cramp machines to like show men how much pain women have to go through. They cut that scene out of there. There was a lot of things on the cutting room floor because remember, they're trying to focus this on a 43-minute story that they don't necessarily know going into the season. So I'm sure everything is in flux as they go through that. But it is frustrating because you're like, that's a nice juicy piece of information that we still don't have clarification from in regards to Mr. Craig Conover, which, by the way, did you see Craig went to Washington this week to talk about small businesses? All right. That's where we are. Hope none of Craig's friends have Medicaid. Woo! Okay, let's take a quick break and then we will get back and we will start the old recap. And we're back. Really quickly before we get into, which by the way, did I even ask how you guys are doing? I think I did, but if I didn't, I hope you're well. Before we get into Summer House once again, I wanted to take a moment. There was a question on a Spotify comment for the show asking me what my top 2 Mission Impossible movies, because we have the new Mission Impossible I think it's called The Final Reckoning, coming out tomorrow. And God, I love watching Tom Cruise TikTok videos on the promotional tour because he's just so damn serious about his love of making movies and even his love of promoting movies. And did you see that clip going around of him eating popcorn? And he's like he's passionately throwing popcorn into his mouth. I've never seen somebody eat popcorn this intensely and like so purposeful in his throwing of the popcorn into his mouth. Like he's throwing it in there like 80 miles an hour. You've got to see this video. It is potentially more exciting than some of the Mission Impossible movies, but I've always loved these Mission Impossible films. And, you know, I always talk about comfort movies, and this was a definite comfort movie series. But my top 2, now I haven't seen the new one. I'm going to see that this weekend. I would have to say Mission Impossible Fallout, which was the 6th one in the series. And that had Henry Cavill, who played Superman. And I thought that was a fantastic one, really classic in the filming of it, great action sequences. I mean, all of these have really great action sequences in it. I thought then Dead Reckoning is my second favorite, and Dead Reckoning is ridiculous. It is completely farcical in its action, but at the same time, he just sells everything so passionately. And once again, these action sequences are so insane. And that's what these are. It's almost like wish fulfillment for Tom Cruise of just insane stunts that I feel sometimes that Tom Cruise has a death wish and he's going to go out doing what he loves. And that's doing some kind of insane stunt hanging off of an airplane, because you don't have to do the things that Tom Cruise does, but he does them. And I'm like, yeah, go for it. And in some ways, the movie going experience, he is like a one-man band trying to save it. He is so damn passionate. And first off, I love people with passion. And second off, I love films, and I love the theater going experience. And he's trying to really get people hyped on that. I would also say honorable mentions to Mission Impossible, the first one. This was directed by Brian De Palma. It's very different, but for the time, listen, there's an air of ridiculousness throughout this entire series. You kind of really have to, I always just think like if one of these characters, it's like, what if they have bad IBS? They're in the middle of some intense chase and he's like, I gotta shit myself. Is there a bathroom anywhere? Like I could not participate in like 30 seconds of a Mission Impossible storyline at all. Mission Impossible 2 was my least favorite of the Mission Impossibles. This was directed by John Woo, who did one of my favorite ridiculous movies of all time, Face Off, with Nicolas Cage and John Travolta, where the whole concept is we're going to take John Travolta's face and put it on Nicolas Cage's character and vice versa. It is so ridiculous, not to mention that those two men have different body types. And I remember seeing it in the theater as a kid and going like, yeah, I accept this. I'm in. Like, fuck yeah. I remember I was so obsessed with that movie Face Off that I considered buying the movie poster. I was like, wouldn't my bedroom be complete with a Face Off movie poster? Like, I was so weirdly obsessed with that movie, and I watched it like a couple of years ago, and it kind of holds up, but you just don't realize how ridiculous it is. Like, it should be a midnight movie where people can just laugh. Even though it's well done, but you just laugh. But Mission Impossible 2, directed by John Woo. Also, it has the feat of having Limp Bizkit, the band Limp Bizkit, headed by Fred Durst, who once hooked up with the legend Britney Spears, did the theme song for Mission Impossible 2. Now, Mission Impossible 3 was more of a return to not form. I mean, I guess form in the sense of one, but it was directed by J.J. Abrams. J.J. Abrams really has a very snappy, fast-paced style of directing, and he is kind of a fixer in a way where it was like, okay, we're back. And also, it had Philip Seymour Hoffman as the villain. Philip Seymour Hoffman, rest in peace, one of my favorite actors of all time. And Mission Impossible 4, that was when they really settled into kind of the elevated film. Like Mission Impossible 3, not as elevated, and we have like Tom Cruise at the beginning of this movie has settled down with a wife. But Mission Impossible 4, 5, 6, and 7, it all was like this very esteemed. You know, we are now in a full-blown franchise. You know, we are in a James Bond-esque territory where Tom Cruise's Ethan Hunt is just, you know, he's insane. He's literally insane, and he survives everything. And he's really good with mask work. But those were my favorites. But I will say it makes a really unique viewing experience. Just watch all of them back to back. We binge TV shows all the time. Binge the Mission Impossible movies. They just get crazier and crazier. So I'm excited to see Mission Impossible 7. Some of the early reviews have been ho-hum, but I think there are probably some amazing action sequences. And these are the movies where you just kind of go with it. You just kind of suspend your disbelief and just go in wanting to have some sort of good time. But I highly recommend the Mission Impossible franchise. Okay, now let's go back to the other Mission Impossible, me ever liking Jesse Solomon. One news story that I was sent today. Oh God, this turned my stomach. Thankfully, I'm not eating much, so there's not a lot to hurl. But I got sent this, that there is a rumor. Demois talked about this on her podcast this week. Oh guys, just hug a loved one after I tell you this, because this turned my stomach. Okay, Demois said she got a tip saying, Real Housewives of Beverly Hills star, far-fetched right there, Erica Jane allegedly hooked up with Summer House star Jesse Solomon in New York after Bravo event, as an insider speaks out.
Oh, Jesse Solomon, put it in. It's me, Erica Jane. I'm so sexy. Oh, you got such big teeth. I'm going to sell your teeth so I can redo my house again. Ugh.
Oh, God. Just the amount of teeth and ego that hookup would have. Anyways, this is the direct quote from Demois. I did get another message from somebody regarding another hot Bravo tip. This person alleges nothing to do with Rhode Island. This person says, I heard from a friend who was with Jesse Solomon at Watch What Happens Live last night that he hooked up with Erica Jane afterward. This person later clarifies it might have actually been at the Bravo upfronts, not last night. But regardless, my friend says this still allegedly happened. What do you guys think about that? Demois asked. Well, I think that I will not be able to eat again this week. That is disgusting. I mean, kudos to Erica Jane for dropping her, standard age by 30 to 40 years. But I think that's gross. Do I want it to be true? Of course I do. Of course I do. But it's just like Santa Claus. You're like, I'll accept it. But when you start really thinking about it, none of it makes sense. Like, I can't see a world. Like, does Jesse take her back to his, probably shitty apartment? What is that even? I don't want to know what it looks like, but I just want to let you guys know. I have that information. I want to share it with you so you can possibly ruin your Memorial Day weekend. Ugh. Okay, let's get into this episode. Okay, Summer House Season 9, Episode 15, and this is entitled Summer Scaries. Heyo. And the cable company gives us this description. Lexi and Jesse navigate the awkwardness of their breakup. Lindsay faces a new future. So that is what we get. We start off with clips from the whole season, and what a season it wasn't. We started off the season, remember, with Lindsay revealing that she was pregnant. Remember, she went to Kinko's or whatever Kinko's is called now and made a giant sonogram, which would look perfect in my reality show museum, which, by the way, I got sent an amazing Tom sweatshirt this week for my reality show museum. So thank you to Eileen Cardy for that. It will have a proud home. We're just looking for a warehouse space to house my museum in. If anybody has any leads, let me know. Listen, we joke about this, but you never know. It could be true one day. Also, we have scenes where Jesse Solomon at the very beginning is talking to his boy West Beast, and he's like, I heard a rumor that there could be a girl. I heard she's hot. And then we see the meeting of Jesse and Lexi, and we see Jesse flirting with him, Jesse flirting with her the entire summer. And Kyle going, are you going to drop the L-bomb before the end of the weekend? And Jesse's like, she seems like an amazing person. I love her. And West Beast is like, what the fuck? And then the scene with Kyle to Tom Schwartz in angel wings for the costume party. And Kyle's like, I would have never thought I would not have kids by now, which is funny because I like Kyle, but I would have thought he wouldn't have kids by now. We have Amanda Batula saying, there's some days where I'm like, should I even have kids? And Kyle's like, zoinks, what? And she's like, I'm not suited to take care of something else. Yeah, she's got her hands full. She's got a bikini line and taking care of Kyle. And then we have Craig Conover, which we kind of forgot about in the latter half of the season. And Craig on that date with Paige, where he's like, I want to make sure that we continue to make our relationship a priority and we don't let it slip. Because if you are this busy for the rest of our lives, I wouldn't see it working out. And in that moment, Paige is like, well, you will not be seeing me for the rest of our lives. And she also says, my career is way different than when we met. And I don't feel bad for that. And Craig's like, that's a little unfair. And then Paige talking to Ciara going, when I think about me and Craig breaking up, I get upset, but I feel like I'm being gaslit into things that I need to compromise on. And then another conversation with Ciara that she had about Craig, and Ciara's like, no one's going to hate you if you do what's best for you. And she's like, it's just hard. And I'm just nervous Craig's going to be like, you're such a fucking bitch. I mean, he didn't do that. He just didn't say anything. And then we had the Ciara West frigid relationship at the beginning where she just taps him on the chest instead of giving him a hug. And West being freaked out. He's like, it's going to be a long summer, Kyle. I tried to hug her and she slapped my arm away. And then Ciara publicly calling him out at family dinner going, how embarrassing that you publish an article to reiterate the fact that you don't like me anymore. Like, that's a bitch ass move. West lost his voice this season. I mean, and I think it was very calculated where he's just like, I'm just not going to talk. I'm just going to exist solely on vibes and calling people beast. And where we ended up at the end of last week's episode where Lindsay's like, thank you everyone for showing up to the Freedom Dinner. This is the anniversary of Carl and I's breakup. And Carl's like, thank you for reminding everybody publicly. Honestly, Carl, thank you for setting me free so that I could accomplish my dreams. And Amanda Batula went in. By the way, this might be my favorite moment of the season when Amanda Batula breaks into a choking coughing fit after Lindsay said that. To me, that was pure comedy. We also had a scene where Kyle's like, I wanted to invite another guy that might come out at some point this summer. His name's Imrul, and he's going to have sex constantly in this summer house, and we're going to edit him out of certain episodes, and he's going to disappear by the end of the season. And so, yeah, this was the season of Imrul. Obviously, I think we know that he is not going to come back next season. He's in that. And by the way, a lot of people are like, he didn't make enough of a mark. We've seen people come in the first season and not make a huge splash. But I think with Imrul, it feels very different. But he did provide us with one of the best scenes where Jesse Solomon, the mystery of what Jesse Solomon did in this room with two girls and Imrul. And we know his toe was sucked, but we also have the audio of Jesse going, and now I'm hard. And I'm hard. And then Lexi finding out about that. Jesse got his toe sucked? And then her talking to Jesse going, you are low-key talking shit behind my back, making it seem like I'm some crazy jealous girl when like you let a random girl suck your toe. And Jesse's like, girls just don't understand. And then Jesse vehemently flirting with Ciara going, why don't you just give me a chance, with a big old toothy Jack Nicholson smile. And Ciara going, why don't you try? Ugh. And Jesse going, Wes called dibs. And Ciara's like, well, don't let your situation stop you from finding your wife. And Jesse goes, so you're saying don't let Lexi stop me from you? And he kisses her on the hand. And Ciara eats this up. For everybody gassing up Ciara and all of the women on Summer House, they seem to still have not learned any lesson in regards to what they think of Jesse. They still think, it seems like from interviews, that the sun rises and sets with Jesse Solomon. I don't understand it. Lexi then having a conversation with Jesse last week going, this is not the relationship that I'm looking for. And Jesse's like, so I take it you don't want to date anymore? And then him having the powwow in the bedroom with everybody, talking mad shit like she was upset with him all summer for doing. And he's like, she was upset that I had a nice time with Ciara. And Ciara's like, what are you talking about? She was just like, how are you just going to get over it when she's been rude to Wes and to me? Which, by the way, wasn't in the conversation that they had on the breakup on the porch. So he brings this up, acting like this conversation just was had when it was earlier in the week. And then remember, at the Freedom Dinner, Lexi's like, listen, from what Jesse Solomon told me about Ciara, I don't trust her. I'm sorry, I don't trust you. Which that's where I was like, damn, Lexi, wrong path. I understand your frustration, and I understand you're basing all of this off of information you got from Jesse Solomon, but he is an unreliable narrator, so it is not best to call that out. There are some things better left unsaid, which is kind of like Justin Bieber in an Instagram post to Haley. Just don't say it. So we're at the Freedom Dinner. We pick back up. And everybody's like, damn, why did she say Ciara? And Ciara's like, do you feel like I've been mean to you? And Lexi's like, I think you and I are obviously different. I'm very like hot. You can sometimes be like, let me suss it out. And I'm like, I love that. But I just feel like things that I've heard all summer is that you guys are taking it like too far. And it's weird. And because of that, I haven't been able to bond with you all summer. And Jesse's like, do you guys think that she wasn't able to bond with you guys because of me? And Lexi's like, yeah. He was like, well, to be fair, Jesse asked the table. And Lexi's like, I do. And Jesse, so Paige goes, I don't think you actively isolated her. I don't think you actively were a serial killer towards her. And Gabby goes, I don't think it was intentional. And Jesse goes, but she's saying that it was, making me seem like I'm vindictive. And Gabby's like, stop worrying about what your perception for a second, that is so interesting because Jesse truly is. Gabby nails it. Gabby does have some great color commentary in this episode. I don't know if it's too little too late, if we will see Gabby coming back next season, but she has great things to say. But she makes that point of Jesse is so in his head about how he is perceived that he completely forgets about how other people are affected by his own actions, right? So there's a pause. And Ciara's like, okay, like I totally get you and Jesse are enamored with each other, but it's also like, did you make yourself fully available to us also all summer? And Lexi's like, no. And Ciara's like, and I think that was what was kind of different between like y'all's relationship and maybe me and Wes' relationship was like he made himself available to everyone outside of what we were doing. And Lexi's like, yeah, you're 100% right. I also was not probably being 100% like, Jesse, leave me alone so I can go and talk to the other girls. But also, to be fair, there's only so much room on Ciara's bed, which is primarily where the bed bugs stay. Like Lexi would have to be like at the foot of the bed potentially. Just geographically, that's not going to work. There's only, by the way, this is another way to keep Paige for next season. They just give like, just one room. Is it just a giant bed? So like at the door, that's like the foot of the bed and you just hop in and the whole room's a bed. I think that could get Paige to stay for season 10. But Lexi's pointing out that she connected with Jesse immediately. She really liked him. And that's why she fought for their relationship for the last month after being clowned. So Lexi is coming in hot. Once again, I think this is a week too late. But Gabby's like, preach, honey. And Jesse's like, okay. And then Wes is like, can I speak? What changed from when you dumped him 2 weeks ago? And Jesse's like, good question, Wes Beast. And Lexi's like, well, I'm breaking up with him because I can't trust him. And Jesse's like, yeah, the trust is gone. Jesse's like, yeah, the trust is gone. Every time Jesse opens his mouth, I just imagine feet. And Lexi goes, when my friends are asking me, oh, who are you dating? What's going on in your life? And I'm literally embarrassed to say that I'm dating you because you've treated me like shit for half of our relationship. Now, just to let everybody know, don't feel too bad if you're coming into this podcast cold and you've never watched Summer House in a million years. First off, welcome. I don't know why you're here. But secondly, this was only like, what, an 8-week relationship at most, at best. So we're going to be able to get over this. We're already over this. They're going to drop it at some point. Very easy. But Jesse keeps going, I haven't treated you like shit. And Lexi's like, I think you lie by omission, or if not lie fully. And I think that you're sneaky. And I think you're only happy when it's only me and you, but you don't want to meet my friends. You don't want anything because you only want me to yourself because you like to freaking suffocate me. And you like butt stuff. And Jesse's like, no. And Lindsay kind of does a double take. I wonder if part of Lindsay was like, this freedom dinner is going really good. And then Wes goes, they hang out too much, but also treating you like shit. What? And then Gabby goes, shut up, Wes. And Wes is like, what? But that contradicts itself. And Paige is like, speak up, Wes, speak up. And Wes is like, yeah, what? Yeah, I will speak up. And Gabby goes, yeah, speak up, Wes, for once. And Wes is like, I know. I'm trying to speak up, but I'm scared to give my opinion. And so like there's really intense background music. It's like the Halloween theme song. And then Wes takes a moment. He's like, in this house, Jesse's relationship with everyone, besides you and Emerald, have a year's worth of ground. And so he's going to naturally, and Lexi goes, oh, amazing, a year? And Wes is like, that's a lot longer than a few weeks. And I will say I did my research. He is correct. A year, I believe, is 56 weeks. And a few weeks, that's a few. That's like 2 or 3, right? Okay. But Gabby hears this and goes, oh, West. Oh, West. And Wes is like, let me finish what I'm going to say. Let me finish what I'm going to say. And Gabby's like, Gabby's like on West's neck. And then Wes finally goes, the fucking ad-libs with you, Gabby. Just fucking 1 sec. And Gabby goes, oh, just because he knows all these girls more, then he gets to say more shit and he gets to run his mouth? That argument makes sense to you? And Jesse's like, I'm not running my mouth. And Wes is like, I think that's what people do when they're dating. At least at this point, everyone at this table, he says in a talking head, has had one of their relationships scrutinized by people at this table, except for Gabby. Like, I don't think you can go 3 years and like only talk shit on other people's relationship and not have any of yours be talked shit on. So it's like a little annoying to be like told to shut the fuck up. Like she's never had to deal with it. Listen. It's ridiculous, but he also has a point. Gabby has not been involved in any sort of intense scenario. And sometimes with characters like these, I don't know Gabby in real life, they seem to probably be able to successfully maneuver their actual life. And on reality TV, they might not pop the way other characters do because they are not just fucking walking basket cases, right? And then the other side of that is, when you're going to be a girl's girl or a guy's guy and you're going to throw down and you're going to defend, that can sometimes get potentially annoying to watch at times. So it's really hard for a character like Gabby to really find that sweet spot, that middle ground where you can have fun, you can stick up for your friends, you can say funny comments, but you do eventually have to pick up the hot potato. It's going to have to be on you at some point to continue on this show. I would say this to any character. I do want Gabby back, but it is hard when it's like, well, what, it's hard. Like Danielle was cast in a full supporting role, and a lot of people hated Danielle for that. Now, I think Gabby is funnier and smarter in some ways than Danielle, even though I'm not a Danielle hater, even though there's a lot of hate for some reason for Danielle, but you've just, I don't know what the future holds for Gabby, but I hope she comes back. But Lexi goes, Gabby's right. And I would like you to stop stirring the pot, especially on the last weekend. Like, keep my name out of your mouth. Let us actually try to make friendships finally. And Gabby's like, I just don't want to talk about it anymore. And then Wes is like, is there a dessert at this freedom dinner? And Lindsay's like, yeah, cookies and brownies. By the way, is anybody else with me that Lindsay could have shelled out a little bit more for the freedom dinner? Like, I felt like sandwiches. I love sandwiches. But anyways, Kyle kind of hugs Lexi because Kyle was the one that kind of was in Lexi's ear going, we just had this group talk and you're saying nothing was about Ciara out there? Because like, I didn't want to make it. I'm sorry. And Lexi's like, no, I appreciate you checking on me. And Wes is like, are we good, Lexi? And she's like, no, I hate you. LOL. And Amanda turns to Kyle and is like, you have one weekend left. You stop making trouble. Stop making trouble. Anyways, Lexi's like, Wes, you come at Gabby for talking. You talk more than her, so you shut the fuck up. And so, but it's in a joking manner. It wasn't like intense, that scene, right? But I do like that they're hopping on Wes for not talking as much. I like that. He needed that. Ciara even gives Wes a compliment. It's like, yeah, at least he's standing up for his friend, which, you know, he hasn't done all summer. And Wes is like, that's like a backhanded compliment. Gabby goes, I'm not going to give credit for mediocrity, but sure. You can tell Gabby's like a couple drinks in already. And Paige goes, and don't forget, Carl's free too. We're back to the freedom dinner, right? And then they're all like, hey, let's write Carl's Instagram post because remember, Lindsay Hubbard wrote like a Bible passage on her Instagram and Carl's like, I'm good. And everybody's like, yeah, 1 year ago. And everybody's laughing. I love this. Like an intense freedom dinner, but we all end up laughing. This is good reality television. This is their pros. Like fight and then turn it around real quick. And they're like, Carl, do it, Carl Beast. In a talking head, Carl goes, what I'm hoping for after the freedom dinner is that I am free now from talking about this dinner and break up ever again and just focus on soft bar. We're definitely not going back to the friendship we had before. She can do her thing. I can do mine. And yeah, I feel much better now. Okay, so they're going to go get changed into the jammies. And when I say they, it means the bed bugs. And yeah, this was a successful freedom dinner. The first annual, right? So the guys are cleaning up in the kitchen. Wes says, that was the first time I talked in a group conversation and my heart's going like 1,000 miles an hour. And Jesse's like, thanks for doing that, dude. All right. The guys decide that they want to go out, right? They want to party, which, by the way, I was half expecting Jesse Solomon to bring home a girl like Emerald has done all summer. He sits on the couch first with Paige, though, and he's like, Paige, how bad? And Paige is laughing. And she goes, it could have been way worse. I'm always for the girls. And Jesse goes, yeah, I appreciate you saying something. And Paige goes, you didn't like fuck another girl or cheat on her. And Jesse goes, you know I don't have like malicious intent. And Paige goes, no, I know. Do you know? Wait, do we know? And Jesse goes, like, yeah, like, sorry I was obsessed with you. And Paige goes, you guys went too quick, too hard. And Jesse goes, yeah, that never happened to me before. I have a feeling it's happened to this man multiple times. And then he goes, I learned my lesson. I do not believe he has. And that's why he'll make great reality television in years to come. And then Ciara comes down and goes, oh, so you don't like me, Jesse? And Jesse goes, that's not what I said. I said, I'm so glad that Ciara and I are friends again. And Paige says, he just wants to make sure he's still friends with us. Oh my God. Oh my God, vomit. Jesse goes, I think it's like the right thing. It wasn't even your decision, freak. I think it's the right thing. No, she thought it was the right thing. You had to accept it. But they're all like, yeah, it's definitely the right thing. And then Ciara's like, yeah, I think it's the right thing. And then Jesse goes, I'll keep it chill tonight. I'm not going to invite any girls here. And I won't flirt with you, Ciara. And then Ciara's like, shut up, Jesse. And then Jesse goes, stop flirting with me, Ciara. Oh my God. The fact that I know that they're going to hook up at some point is so disturbing to me. It upsets me at such a pure place. So there, all the girls are joking around with Jesse downstairs. I feel like the bedbugs are on the wrong side of history on this one. I just do. Guys go out, and Lindsay is on the phone with Turner, her baby daddy, and was like, "Oh, I threw a dinner. It was pretty chill." I love Lindsay's like, and by the way, at Lindsay's standards, that was pretty chill, but it potentially wasn't going to be. But she's like, "Yeah, it was so chill." We go over to Gabby's bedroom. Lexi is sleeping in there because Jesse's been sleeping with her in her bed, so I guess it's tainted. And she tells Gabby, "I feel like my summer has been like for Jesse to like fuck me over at the end of it." And Gabby's like, "Yeah, that sucks. But it's okay. We're going to get better. We're going to have such a fun weekend. Apparently our party is at capacity." And Lexi's like, "Yeah, Jesse and Wes probably invited an entire sorority." And Gabby's like, "Yeah, they definitely did." But once again, Imrul is not to be seen. Like, Imrul was there, but he weirdly is not really... They didn't really throw any lines to Imrul at all. It is so weird. Anyways, Paige and Ciara are laying in bed. Amanda is going to her bed. And then Ciara and Paige are having deep conversations and says, "Hey, physical looks only. What type of stature and looks is like, you're like seeing him double taking, breaking your neck, like, fuck yeah, you better like, And Paige goes 6'3" and above, longer hair, and in a suit. And I'm whipping my head, Paige says. And Ciara's like, "Wow, in a suit." And then Paige goes, "Could have facial hair. Might not. I'd never go beard, though," she says. And Paige says, "Ciara, how many times genuinely do you think you've been in love?" And Ciara's like, "Well, I've only told one person that I'm in love with them." And then Paige goes, "I've told all my boyfriends I love them. But then looking back, I'm like, that wasn't love. I just like loved my life and he was there." I mean, that's a very funny yet profound statement. And so true, right? When you think about the concept of love and how it makes you feel. But then also sometimes when you think of love, you are really just being enamored with a certain time in your life, right? And that person was there. I love that comment. Paige lets us know that the Giggly Squad tour is starting up in 10 days, and she feels a little sad, folks, because she's not as excited as she thought she would be. She's very anxious, more than excited, and she's mad at herself for a little bit. So she's trying to stay present. By the way, we can blame this all on Craig, Paige. But she says, "I'm trying not to think about, is Craig okay? Is Craig mad about it? Because it's too much." Which, by the way, remember, these talking heads have been done after her and Craig broke up. So she has the benefit of being able to look back, right? So we come back from the bar. I think it's close to 2 a.m. Somebody gave Kyle one of those shaky eggs at the bar. I like Jax gets like thongs allegedly at bars, and Kyle gets shaky eggs. So the guys are back. They're safe. Okay, so I just took a big break. We did a Patreon Live. Shout out to the baddies. And I do want to apologize. Somebody in the Patreon Live made a good point. I'm always like hyped up on the weekend. And she pointed out that some people work on the weekends. And so I'd like to apologize to all of my friends out there that work on the weekends, that I am wishing you well as well. And hopefully you get off certain days during the week. So I'm so sorry to hype up the weekend, and I'm so sorry that you picked the wrong job potentially. So great Patreon Live, but let's get back into Summer House. We're picking up the next day. It's 9:15 in the morning. I always love when they put the timestamp on there. And Wes is a little hungover, you guys. And Amanda comes in to bring Wes coffee, and Jesse's like, I'm sad. And Amanda's like, we have a whole beautiful long weekend. And then Wes is like, dude, being sad and hungover? Horrid combo. And Jesse's like, now I have to hang out with the girl who dumped me yesterday. Moo, feel bad for me. By the way, why isn't Amanda bringing Lexi in coffee? Come on. Jesse in a talking head goes, I can't believe this is how it's going to end. Lexi thinks, I'd rather have loved and lost than to not have loved at all. And now that sounds dumb as shit. I would rather not loved at all. I would rather just, hey friend, you look sexy today. Let's go hit on girls in the club because this fucking sucks. Oh, Jesse's taking this rough, you guys. Poor little guy. Oh, let's hope he's able to get back on the horse and bang more girls. Raw dog style. Woo. And then Jesse pulls this shit where he goes into the kitchen and he starts singing. He's like, good morning, good morning, good morning to my sweet fellow. And Gabby's like, that's a little too much right now. And Jesse's like, okay, that's what my mom sang to me every day of my life. Oh, you're the best, Jesse. You're the best. Amanda goes, that's really sweet. Now, Emerald comes in like a ghost. I don't even know if by the way, this could be like the Sixth Sense, that Bruce Willis character. Spoiler alert about the Sixth Sense. But, you know, Emerald comes in, and I don't even know if I don't know if he's a real person at this point. And nobody really talks to Emerald. Maybe he's a ghost. That's why he keeps getting cut out. Like, he's only a figment of our imagination. And listen, we got to get the bed out of Ciara's room because literally they have breakfast down in the kitchen area where you're normally supposed to have breakfast. And then Amanda goes and brings a bacon, egg, and cheese sandwich into Ciara and Paige's room. They're still in bed on their phones. And she's like, rise and shine. Here's a bacon, egg, and cheese. Like, what the fuck? Get up. You legitimately collect a paycheck for this. You need to do activities. Anyways, everybody needs to set up for the party tonight, and it's like a horror theme, and they hired scare actors to scare people. But you can tell Jesse's trying to be Professor Positive right now and be like, yeah, let's have fun. Now, to be fair, Gabby brings Lexi in a bacon, egg, and cheese sandwich to her room, and Lexi is crying in her bathroom, and she's just like, I'm overwhelmed. Which, by the way, this feels like those times when you wake up with like a massive hangover and you try to put together the night before and then realize you made a lot of really bad mistakes. But instead of the night before, she's thinking about the entire summer. And she tells the girls, she goes, I think I'm just overwhelmed and sad because it's not a normal situation where like you live with somebody that you dated within 3 seconds. It's definitely harder than I thought to like just navigate. And by the way, she's crying here and like just being a student of reality television, I'm just like, oh man, Lexi is going to get so much shit for these moments when I think she's trying to be open and honest, but I think she's realizing potentially that she made a lot of mistakes this summer by trusting Jesse. In a talking head, she says, Jesse's the closest person in the house to me, even friendship wise. So he's who I feel the most comfortable with at this point. So I just feel really like torn up. And I was like, well, you could get back together with him. JK. She says she feels like he would be who I would run to, and I can't run to him, so I just feel really lonely. And I was already feeling lonely. Run to Ciara, man. Lindsay says maybe just try not to look in his direction at all. And yeah, great advice. Great advice, Lindsay. It's 1:40 in the afternoon, and Danielle actually makes another appearance. For somebody that like is not on the show, she is on the show quite a bit this season. I would say more than Rule and potentially right up there with Gabby. Anyways, the guys are in the backyard and they're setting up like a coffin and they have this curved like entrance doorway, but it's all made out of skulls, which I imagine these are all like Jesse's past conquests. And Danielle's in there going, oh, wow, Jesse and Wes, they're setting things up. And Lexi says to Danielle, oh, I broke up with Jesse. And she goes, again? And Lexi's like, Wes brings in DIY tombstones where the ladies can write something on the tombstones. And Danielle's like, Lindsay, you should write death to your vagina as we know it on yours. And Lindsay's like, West has his friend Dina coming in who's doing glam makeup for the death party. We're starting the party around 5:30 and we got a full guest list. Jesse lets us know there's going to be a lot of people coming and we don't want them to be waiting outside. Like, what is this, Studio 54? And we find out that Lexi on her tombstone write, here lies Jesse's lies. Womp womp. Like, girl, we could have come up with something better. like you could have, like, Jesse has a small dick, or like, I don't know. I'm just thinking off the top of my head. Anyways, we see all of the people getting ready. Lindsay is dressed like somebody out of the Handmaid's Tale, which is it's very interesting, especially as pregnant. Very deep message there from Lindsay Hubbard. Let's see. Gabby is dressed as one of the characters from that movie Us, directed by Jordan Peele. Looks like Paige is a witch. Jesse Solomon is dressed up as American Psycho. West is dressed up like a demon zombie, I think. And Ciara, the queen of the Summer House costumes, I think that is, self-acclaimed. She is dressed up as a frat bro, or like a finance bro. And West is like, what is like that in the relation of the theme of the party? And Paige is like 6'5", blue eyes in finance. And she's named this character Brantley. It's like that TikTok video, 6'5", blue eyes, finance, But it's so funny, if you look at it closely, she has like Coke residue on her nose. But it's like a demon like it's a zombie Brantley. Everybody has fun with the costumes on Summer House. Jesse finally spots the tombstone that says, "Here lies Jesse's lies." And he's like, oh my God, I'm about to lose it. I just read Lexi's tombstone, which is like solid that he knows how to read. Remember, they hired scare actors. So some of the scare actors are like scaring people. And the one scare actor scares Carl. And he's like, oh, Jesus. He's like, oh, God. It's so funny. And then we have this kind of weird, I don't know if it was a setup conversation with Lindsay, Danielle, and Kyle. And Danielle's like, I love us. Oh, I love us. God, we've gone through so many summers. And I almost expected Lindsay to be like, you're not officially in this summer, Danielle. But Lindsay goes, no, we really have gone through so many summers. And Kyle is like, personally, I can keep doing this. Don't kick me out of the summer house. I wish Kyle stared directly at the camera when he said that. He goes, I'm not going to lie. I'm a freak. I can stay here forever. I love it. But what about you, Lindsay? Come on. And Daniel goes, it feels like the end. It truly does. And Lindsay goes, no, it doesn't feel like an ending for me. And Kyle goes, but at a certain point, And Daniel's like, you got to hang up the cleats. And Kyle's like, you think there's like a next chapter brewing? And Lindsay goes, I'm obviously like, and Daniel goes, you're Delulu if you don't think that this is an ending. And Lindsay just stares at her and goes, yeah. In a talking head, Lindsay goes, I'm in the process of going through an identity crisis. Think about it. This is a huge transitional year for me. Like, becoming a mom is a huge transition in and of itself. Then it's not like I can live in a party share house, right? So, like, what does that mean? I don't know. How am I going to make my money? I don't fucking know. Where do I go from here? And Daniel goes, it's a beginning for you, and everyone's next chapter looks different, and that's okay. Daniel's being a real bummer at this party. But also, by the way, this is like one of the first scenes where I was like, it feels like a setup for something involving Lindsay. Of like, I don't know, where do I go from here? Is this an ending? It is so, to me, a set up scene, right? And by the way, this whole time, Jesse keeps going up to groups of girls and is like, what's up? I'm Jesse Solomon. Do you like soft rock? No, he goes up to this group of girls. And he's like, are you guys sisters? Cousins? And Paige looks at this and goes, wow, Jesse is really getting right back into it. 1, 2, 3, 4 blondes. And Paige goes, oh, but Lexi's watching. And we see Lexi watch Jesse flirt it up. And the girls are like, we need to get back to the city tomorrow. And Jesse goes, do you guys need a ride? Because I would literally do anything for you, except wear a rubber. We see Lexi walk right past Jesse as he's saying this. And Lexi pulls Gabby and goes, what the fuck? So Lexi and Jesse wind up in the kitchen together. And Jesse's like, I don't know how to have a not negative conversation with you. And Lexi's like, yeah. Jesse goes, well, we started the summer strong. We could end strong. And Lexi goes, I just decided I don't plan on having a friendship with you anytime soon. And Jesse's like, yeah, it feels that way. Lexi goes, I feel like, again, I said it since we broke up. I feel like there's been just a lot of deception. Right now, that's just not a friendship that I'm looking for. And Jesse goes, the way we broke up, so peaceful, so amicable, would have loved to have continued that energy. And Lexi goes, I did continue that energy. You got the house involved. I didn't get the house involved, babe. I went up to my room to make sure that I didn't say anything to anyone. I apologized for slipping up and saying one little thing to Ciara. And Lexi goes, that's not based on facts because you didn't tell again the other half of the story. And that's not fair. This is like past weekend. I said it would have been nice for you to ask me to the US Open. You knew I was doing nothing on Monday. It was disheartening and I don't want to keep having to teach you. Okay. So this is interesting. I was thinking about this more. So it does seem like Jesse probably knew she wasn't doing anything, didn't tell her about going to the US Open or just said, oh, I'm going to the US Open and didn't really say who he was going with. And then he went with Ciara and she had to find out from Instagram. In my head, that's what went down and that's why she's so offended. And Jesse's like, well, that one thing opens up this whole entire relationship with that. And Lexi goes, yeah, because again, you're trying to pit me and the girls against each other, just like you've been maybe unintentionally doing all summer. I actually am very much a girl's girl. And that's why I felt so fucking lonely. And I've told you that all summer. And Jesse goes, I'm not entirely I'm not entirely to blame for all of that. I encourage you to hang out with the girls. You could have done that. And he goes, I wasn't trying to smother you. Now, remember, he knows a camera guy is directly on him. He's not hiding behind a car in a hot mic moment like we saw a couple episodes ago. And Lexi just keeps going, Jesse. And Jesse goes, I just want to be amicable, but it just doesn't feel like that's possible. The way that you are coming after my character, I don't appreciate it. And Lexi goes, you're coming after my character all summer. I am not, Lexi. Yes, you are, Jesse. In what way? Lexi goes, all summer you're saying that I'm like jealous. And then Jesse says the thing that I've been waiting for all Bravo characters to say, we're on a fucking reality show. I'm talking to my friends about my relationship. It's a concern. I asked my friends for their advice. And you take that as like, I'm like calling you a jealous, insecure. Like I'm not. But finally we heard like, first off, I didn't know they knew. I was like, whoa, oh shit, they're aware they're on a reality show? But then Jesse goes, you'll watch the show back and you'll see how much I cared about you. And Lexi goes, you'll watch the show back and you'll see how much I've never said anything about you. And Jesse goes, I don't want to do this. By the way, I've watched the show back. It proves Lexi more than it proves Jesse. And Jesse just walks out and he goes, I'm not going to do this right now. No. Realizing he potentially lost that conversation. So now this fool Jesse hits on like 5 other girls and he goes, you look so gorgeous. I mean, that's pretty intense, but he knows I'm a star on Summer House. I can say these things. And he brings these group of girls in the kitchen. And then Ciara and Paige and Amanda see him and they're like, oh, Jesse. And they walk inside. And Lindsay's there as well. And Ciara starts sweeping up, going, I'm just going to be sweeping some things out of the house, just getting some mess out of our house, guys. Clearly referring to these women that Jesse has brought in. And Ciara goes, Brantley's a girl's girl. Wait, no, he's not. Brantley's a total slut. That's the character she's dressed up as. Like, no matter how weird Jesse and Lexi are, Ciara says, it's just too much, too soon. And honestly, I don't want Lexi having to see that. Like, whether she ended it or not, it doesn't feel good. And I don't even want her to even see that this is happening, which is very nice of Ciara. And so Jesse remains in the kitchen as they sweep the girls out of there. And Ciara's like, who are those bitches? Amanda goes, if I saw that from the outside, Jesse, I would be pissed. And Jesse's like, I don't even care at this point. And Ciara's like, no, you care just a little. So they are perceiving Jesse as heartbroken. And that's why he's acting out like this. I perceive him as a cold, calculated killer. But Amanda goes, we're just trying to look out for you, Jesse. So Jesse is still getting his way just in the attention he's getting from the Summer House girls, right? So it's the end of the party. They're kicking everybody out. And Amanda lays in the coffin and Ciara and Paige are around here. Her and Paige goes, as much as I love everyone, I would never survive in this house without you two. And Amanda goes, Kyle said he didn't want me to be depressed in the fall and winter, but I feel like I'm depressed when I'm without you guys. I don't know what I'm going to do without you guys. And Ciara's like, we can hang out. And Amanda goes, no, we can't because you're busy and you're busy. And Paige goes, realistically, we're not going to see each other probably until like November. And Amanda goes, I think we have to make efforts. And Paige goes, we should actually do a FaceTime call once a week so we can gossip, catch up. And Amanda's like, yeah. And Paige goes, I just love you guys. And Amanda goes, I know. And Paige says, as much as like we have like random guy problems, and all the girls kind of pause for a second, and Paige goes, I literally couldn't give a fucking less about them. Girl power! Woo! But by the way, this is scene 2 where I feel like they are setting up a spinoff of like, I just don't see my life without you ladies. Let's do something. Let's form a spinoff series together. To me, this is the second clue of this episode. It's all there. This is like Lost. Lindsay lets us know in a talking head that this is the most fun she's had of any of the summers. And now she's going back to her real life where shit gets real. I like that the girls are already in bed and Kyle's still DJing with the smaller party in that little DJ room that he's built. But I just find it endlessly fascinating. If we could all be built like Lindsay Hubbard, who legitimately had the best summer after the worst summer, and she made sure she did. And so we end it there, and all of a sudden the Chiron comes on screen 3 months later. You know it's intense when you see that summer house cursive, whatever, calligraphy writing 3 months later. But I will say I am kind of bummed that we didn't get to see the goodbyes on Sunday. I always like when they say goodbye to each other. I always love that in the real world as well. Like you see them enter the house and meet each other, and you see them leave the house. And I think the same thing with Summer House. But we pick back up cameras 3 months later. It's Thursday, December 5th, 2024, 8:02 p.m. And Lindsay Hubbard is walking herself into the hospital. I was like, where is Turner Cooke, your baby daddy? But she, obviously, her water broke and she is checking herself in to the hospital with a cameraman. Turner isn't there, but a cameraman is there. So we see her get off the elevator at the labor and delivery triage area, and we cut to commercial. And now it's Friday, December 6th at 4:02 p.m. And we see Lindsay being handed her baby as she's holding her baby and looking at her beautiful child, Gemma. And Lindsay says, you know, when you hear parents being like, I've never felt a love like this before. And you're like, okay, blah, 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 like whatever. It's so true, she says. We see her kiss her baby's head. She says, I look at her and I melt. I think my baby is the most beautiful baby on the planet Earth. You could not convince me otherwise. And we see shots of her and her baby again as she starts tearing up in the hospital room. And she says, I can't help it. It really is truly a beautiful moment. And also, this is the joy of reality television. When you've spent so many seasons with a reality show character that is a real life person, when they have a life milestone like this, you can't help but be happy. Even if you don't like Lindsay Hubbard, you got to think this is a beautiful moment, right? We're not all heartless bastards. Okay, but we get out of that scene and it's intense music. Dun, 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 dun. And it's Monday, December 30th, 2024, 9:07 a.m., folks. We hear audio and we see clips. Paige DeSorbo and Craig Conover split after 3 years. And I remember this specifically because I was going in for my sinus surgery that morning, and I put out like I woke up to this news right before I had to go to the hospital, like the doctor's office at 6 a.m. And I was like, no, because I knew I was going to be out for the rest of the week with this sinus crap. And I was like, come on, of all days to announce this news, isn't that always the case? We all have podcasts. We know how it is. And then we cut to Tuesday, January 21st, 2025, 11:57 a.m. And we are, I believe, over at Lindsay's apartment. She's picking up all these baby toys. Why is a baby this young already playing with this many toys? I was like, wait, are babies just like from like a month old playing with toys that she's picking up off the floor? Our babies aren't crawling at this point. Anyways, Paige comes over, brings champagne, and she's napping the baby. So Paige can peek in. And I love how excited Paige is for Lindsay. This whole scene was like so cute in regards to Gemma, like 'cause Amanda comes over and they're all just so happy. And you can tell they just genuinely are excited for Lindsay. And also, it's just always fun to see a new baby, right? But Paige asked a very important question. Did you poop during delivery? I guess that does tend to happen. And Lindsay says, I don't know. They didn't tell me. It would be great if she did poop and she was like, I deem this poop the Freedom Dinner poop. Sorry. So Lindsay has the caviar out for the ladies. They all sit down on the couch after Amanda cried over Lindsay's baby. And Paige talks about this is the life she's manifested for herself. And I truly actually do believe that. They ask Lindsay how it's been going. She says it feels like Groundhog's Day. And then she says, Turner, the baby daddy, he has been amazing, she says. Like the things that this man has done, he's the best guy that you could be in this situation with. And Amanda's like, you don't need to kick his ass? And she goes, I don't. But the one conflict we have is that he's private and I am public. And it causes a lot of turmoil, dun, 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 because I don't think he fully wrapped his mind around how public somebody is who is on TV and is also Lindsay Hubbard. She goes, it's like I'm constantly trying to figure out, Paige goes, the line. And she goes, yeah, what is acceptable for him or not? And like a big conversation that we're having right now. Uh-oh, he just found out about the Freedom Dinner. Lindsay goes, if I didn't get pregnant, I don't know if we would have stayed together. Oh man, brutal. She goes, because for me, it's like, I wouldn't have compromised. Remember Lindsay's big on non-compromise. And Paige is like, wow. And I'm like, wow. In a talking head, Lindsay says, Turner is by far the most private guy I've ever dated. Lindsay wants that guy influencer energy a little bit. Like, I think she totally obviously appreciates Turner and is in love with him, but like she wants that. I think she wants that public energy, right? But Lindsay goes, I'm not really used to that. I like that she also is like, he is so handy. I like that, like, Turner's like, he is like a TaskRabbit. So Lindsay has to pump. The girls are fascinated with watching her pump. But Lindsay goes, this is weird, but I'll see how it goes. Like the last time I rearranged my whole life for a guy, like, look where I wound up, I like she gave one final fuck you to Carl. They get down to the nitty gritty and ask Paige how she's doing. And Paige goes, honestly, I'm great. Honestly, I feel bad that I feel good. Like I made the right decision. Honestly, what made me feel like I made the right decision was literally 2 days later, my dad called me and he was like, I just want to let you know, like, I feel like your personality is back. Like, I didn't realize how different you kind of were. And now I call you and you're like so happy. And you're like, I just feel like I kind of got my daughter back a little. Oh my God, Craig stole this man's daughter. But Amanda goes, yeah, I think there was something different about you this summer. And I could really sense something was up. Also, she was talking about it nonstop with the people in the summer house. Amanda goes, but like, I was letting you share what you wanted and how you were feeling. But you were different this summer. Also, why no Ciara and Gabby? It's the weird inclusions and exclusions in these scenes are interesting. Paige goes, I don't think I really realized how different I was until I was kissing another man. No, until I was out of the house and I was on tour and I was like, I'm having a panic attack. And I'm just like, I don't know why I'm having this. I'm not nervous to do this. I'm going on medicine. I'm calling my mom every day. I'm calling my therapist. So I'm like dealing with all of this, but also as a girl, it's like, am I being dramatic? Am I being crazy? Lindsay got a little bit of milk and Paige says that she wants to taste it. And Lindsay's like, you should, it's delicious. I've told you guys this story before, but a long time ago, I think like 15 years ago, my buddy Jocelyn had a baby and we were at like a little outside party and I was dared $100 to drink some of her breast milk. And I did, $100 is $100. And there were some people at the party that didn't know us as a friend group. And I think got kind of really creeped out that I did that. Just wanted to share my 2 cents. So they taste her milk, but then they make Lindsay taste her own milk. And classic Lindsay, she's like, this is good. Wow. So Paige continues with the Craig talk and goes, okay, fast forward. It's November. He comes for Thanksgiving. I don't even know how it came up. He was like, do you ever fantasize about us hosting holidays like with our kids? And I was like, yeah, like, of course. And then like I sat there and I was like, wait, no, I don't. I wonder if she said that out loud or in her head. But she goes, and that's pretty bad. So I told him, I was like, I don't think I do. She told him, and that's not fair to you, she said. You deserve to have the love of your life. And I feel like I do too. Oof. And I can't like pretend that like we don't have these issues. And so it was like, I just don't think I'm feeling the things I'm supposed to be feeling if we are thinking about getting engaged in the next year. Okay, so that was the bomb drop. And then Paige goes, he's like, I'm coming to New York in the middle of December. Let's have like an in-person conversation. I'm like, absolutely. While we're having the in-person conversation at my apartment in December, he says to me, I really wish you didn't do this before you saw the ring. And Lindsay's like, what? He bought a ring, Amanda says? And Paige is like, they're like, whoa, wait. And Paige goes, right when he says that to me in my head, I was like, this is why we're breaking up, because I don't know if you're lying right now. And the girls are like, zoinks faces everywhere. And they talked about this on Watch What Happens Live with Lindsay and Kyle as well. And Kyle was like, no, I think he completely lied. We never saw a picture of this ring. He was talking about Carl even showing off Lindsay's engagement ring to him. He's like, all guys show up their engagement rings to somebody else. He showed nobody. We've never seen a picture of this ring. So not looking good for Craig. I don't know if he's going to fight the charges. He's probably just going to take some stock photo of a ring online and just start showing everybody. But Paige continues. He goes, yeah, I've had this ring for a year. And Paige is like, this is 2 weeks after we broke up. It doesn't exist, Lindsay. The ring doesn't exist. We'll never see it, Paige says. 2 weeks after we broke up, no one knew still. So then I put it out on the podcast. I don't hear from him. I felt like I was very respectful on the podcast. Also, I was like, I don't need anyone coming at him like, oh, what did he do? There's definitely a reason they broke up, blah, blah, blah. So then all of a sudden, it's like Paige cheated on Craig. That's why they broke up. And then Amanda goes, yeah, it was Ben cheating on Craig. And Paige's like, yeah. So I send him a text and I'm just like, I'm getting annihilated right now. And you could honestly clear it up in 2 seconds. And then Craig says, I don't feel comfortable saying anything at this time. And the girls are like, what? And Paige goes, here's the other thing. As a girlfriend, I have defended the fuck out of you in public. I have fought people for you. I have lied for you. And Amanda keeps going, you did so good. You did so good. And this is a similar issue with the Valley about covering up men's mistakes. I mean, listen, we're idiots, truly. And Paige here is admitting like how much she potentially has stood up for and lied for Craig, right? I also do understand Craig not wanting to say anything at that time in a sense, but Paige is right. Could have cleared it up very quickly, but he had not really told anybody. I mean, well, at that point they knew, but he obviously was in his own feelings at that moment. And it might have took him back that this is why he was hearing from Paige, but this is all speculation, right? But I also thought it was interesting that Paige felt that strongly about getting annihilated that she reached out to him, but I'm sure she was getting a very intense level of hate that she was not used to. But she's like, yeah, I have lied through my fucking teeth for you. And Lindsay goes, so you have not spoken? And she's like, no, we haven't spoken since I asked him to say that I didn't cheat on him, and he said no. And then after that, I was like, and now you're dead to me. Oof. Amanda says, I sent like 3 hearts to Craig and a nude. No, just 3 hearts. And Amanda goes, even Kyle, I think, texted Craig. And Craig did not respond. And Paige is like, are you kidding? I like that Paige is doubly mad. Like, that is just rude. And Paige goes, you know what's crazy? It's like, obviously, we're all in our 30s. And I think the number one thing I've learned, not that my life is better or worse than what I imagined it to be. It's more just that you have to come to terms with it's not what you imagined. Uh-oh, almost like a log line of a spinoff. You know, when you're in your 30s and your life didn't turn out what you thought it would be, you can already see the posters and the advertisements. I'm telling you, they are letting us know. And by the way, if they are not letting us know, and this is all just like weird coincidence, well, we are manifesting this into existence. This will exist come hell or high water, period. The other thing is, this is where they cut out that scene that we saw in the mid-season trailer where it said, I caught Craig texting 2 bitches. That's out of here. Now, I do understand because it might not have fit the narrative. There's a couple different ways of thinking. Maybe Craig put pressure on after seeing that mid-season trailer and says, that's ridiculous. You put that in there. I'm not going to be on Southern Charm. Who knows? I don't think that would be the case, but maybe it's just not the story they wanted to tell. And I don't mean Paige and all that, but like Summer House in general. They want this to be more of like, why'd you break up? And the power of positivity when it comes to female friendships. Maybe. But Paige says, this is just such a crazy mind fuck, but I feel like all three of us, and this is not what we pictured. But not that our lives are better or worse than what we pictured. I actually think they're way better. And Lindsay goes, no, I love it. I love us. And Paige goes, I love us too. And Amanda goes, I know. Cheers to us. Cheers to us. Should I get more milk? So that is the end, folks. We then get to see the reunion trailer. Andy comes out in a robe. The set is an entire bed. Shout out to Paige DeSorbo for this. And everybody comes out. Wes makes a joke about that he has notes, and his main note is just talk. And everybody laughs. Andy says, Lindsay, how is Turner? We hear deep, dark music. And Lindsay's like, and we see people go, oh, which almost leads us to believe that Turner and Lindsay are no longer together, but they do these editing trolls all the time. So don't believe it, folks. We have Andy saying, you're upstairs, Ciara, telling Paige you kind of want to make out with West again. Wes, how did you feel watching that moment back? And he's like, yeah, that kind of surprised me. And Amanda goes, kind of hot. Amanda, stop trying to get people together that shouldn't be together. And then we hear Paige say, when I realized Craig was on vacation being single, I was like, I can't hide this anymore. Andy says, he told me that he returned the ring. And you thought the two of you would remain friends. And Paige goes, I did think that. And Andy's like, oh. And then we hear Kyle say, everything that I'm doing is to build a future. And Amanda goes, but there will be no future if all he does is work. Amanda says, Kyle is not ready to have kids. And then Kyle's like, are you? And Amanda goes, I'm ready to have kids with someone who's ready to have kids with me. Jesse Solomon goes, me, I am. And then we have Andy going, Lexi, do you think they had sex in regards to what Jesse did in the bedroom with the toe suck? And Lexi goes, I would have thought he got a blowjob. And we see Emerald make a face like, ugh. But also, Emerald could be a ghost. We don't know if that actually, everybody sees that. And then we see Jesse go, I do think I crossed the line a little bit. Yeah, brother. And then Lexi goes, he pits the girls against each other. And Jesse goes, so false. And Lexi goes, specifically against you three. And Ciara's like, okay, well, Lexi, you dragging me into it in your press was a low blow. Ciara hates when people talk about her in the press. From the New York Times, any press, Ciara's like, not my name. And that's all we see from the reunion, which starts next Wednesday, and I'm picturing it probably a 2-episode reunion, even though with this gang, I would like 3 or 4, and I know I might be in the minority, but whatever, we did it. We got to the end of another Summer House season. I mean, yeah, the reunions, but for the most part, another, whole season recapped. We're going strong. Anyways, have the best weekend ever, folks. I'll be doing Patreon episodes, but also check out all the other episodes we did this week. I think there's some great stuff there. And remember last week, Secret Lives of Mormon Wives. If you're finally caught up with the show, go back and listen to that episode. Have the best weekend ever. And I'll talk to you, I think on Monday, we're doing a pop culture roundup with Sophie Ross. Bye, guys. Love ya.